I'm torn, really. I kind of want to just wait a couple more weeks and experience it all together with the full game, but I also just really want to play Sunbreak real bad, so we'll have to see how the next few weeks go and whether the temptation is too great for me. Yeah, well, I didn't last long, boys. I played the demo. I think it was all of 3 days after I'd recorded that clip, and I had it downloaded on both my Switch and my PC, and I was getting stuck in. And I gotta admit, I'm having a good time with it. As of the time of this recording, I've done Azuchi and Tetranodon once each just for the hell of it, and taken down Astalos maybe 10-15 times with a variety of different weapons. I haven't yet versed Malzeno, and there's a specific reason for that. Going up against Magnemalo in the original Rise demo, during which he just completely ass blasts you, really sort of ruined my experience with the in-game Magnemalo, and frankly, I really like Malzeno's design, and I don't want the same thing to happen. Malzeno will remain a surprise for me at least until the final game. On that note, there's probably going to be some minor spoilers here and there, so if you want to avoid absolutely all information about Sunbreak, I suggest clicking off now. Anyway, there's a decent amount to go over, and I've got some thoughts to share, so let's just jump straight in. I am Pete Ginge, and let's dive in to the Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak demo. Okay, so first up, let's get the big, obvious, shiny, brand new stuff out of the way. The first one being the Astalos. Now, if your first Monster Hunter game was Rise or perhaps World, then Astalos is going to be a completely brand new monster for you. With its hyper-aggressive style, bug-like motif, and brilliant green-yellow electric attacks, it makes quite an impression too. Astalos was one of the 4 flagships of Monster Hunter Generations, one of the fated 4 if you will, and so it isn't actually that old compared to a lot of the other monsters in Rise. As such, it is largely similar to its previous iteration and retains a lot of the animations, attacks, and movements. It also might be a little bit faster too, or maybe it's just been a while since I've versed one in Gen 4, I'm not quite sure, but something it has done is borrowed a couple attacks from its previous deviant from Generations Ultimate, the Bolt Reaver Astalos. Specifically, its awesome lightsaber head crest attack thing. It has a fresh coat of paint, and honestly, it looks really good. Its textures and model are really clean, especially those wings, dude. This sort of iridescent sheen to the wing membranes really comes through as one of the most striking features, and the special effects of all its electrical attacks really hit with a good solid punch. Its animations are instantly recognizable, but clearly made more concise and smooth, and the inherent verticality this fight already had just makes it fit really well into Sunbreak, better than I would have expected actually. Now, obviously there may be some tweaks here and there leading to the final launch when it comes to damage, but overall I think Astalos is really great in the demo, and I look forward to taking on with proper weapons and armor and skills in the final game. Next up is a feature that hit me right in the nostalgia, the ground up remake of the jungle. Now, I haven't quite gone full explorer mode yet, as I want there to remain some secrets in the final product, though I did accidentally stumble upon the second map location already, but taking a map that was designed back in like, I don't know, 2006 or something, and making it work and make sense in a modern open setting has worked far better than I expected. The majority of the areas are instantly recognizable as their older counterparts, though there are a number of quality of life tweaks here and there just to make the whole thing actually, make sense. There is no shortage of little shortcuts as is expected of these maps, and the addition of the environmental hazards and the endemic life really makes the whole place feel lived in. And you can also finally go into the temple that is on the Northern Island, which is just something I've personally wanted to do since I was a wee little lad. Again, I've tried to avoid exploring too much, but I couldn't help myself, and damn, it was a good feeling seeing what the developers cooked up in there. And from what I can tell, it will even be a combat area for some monsters in the future. If I had to pick something negative about it, I would say that the underground cave sections, apart from the ruin of course, are a bit of a letdown. Originally, they had this feel of these vast caverns with sheer drop-offs and underground ravines, and the little nest area felt secure and enclosed, but that's been lost a bit in the transition, I think. The areas feel less lively and tighter, leading to, ironically, a much more claustrophobic set of caves in this open setting. With those two things being the obvious highlights, I will quickly just rattle off a few other details that caught my eye. First is the Velociprey. As annoying as they could be previously, and yes, I have rage quit in the past because of them, it was really cool to finally see Velociprey get the HD treatment after seeing them in their 17-year-old skin for so long. With new animations and textures, they fit really well onto the jungle setting, as they always have, and it'd be cool to see Velocidrome return as well, maybe even with some of its frontier tech, Bit of Farcaster breath, anyone? Next is a feature I touched on in a previous video, and it may seem so insignificant to some, but to me, it's just such an awesome and welcome addition, and I don't understand why it wasn't there in the first place. And that feature is starting a wall run without a wire dash. Sometimes you just have to appreciate the little things. The transition being so much smoother just makes the whole experience so much better, and not needing to expend a wire bug to get onto a wall just encourages using it all the more. And the last minor detail is the new endemic life. Now, I try to use the endemic life as much as I can in Rise because it's a neat little feature with some wildly varying results, but the new ones in the demo offer quite a lot in the way of damage, specifically the marionette spider and those crabs and beetles you find on certain walls. The spider is a nice callback to the clutch claw without making the hunt so formulaic, giving you the ability to throw monsters into walls for a nice chunky bonk, which took me a second to figure out, but I got there in the end. Couple this with the beetles that just sort of explode upon impact, and you've got yourself a hefty sum of damage, followed by a good opening from the stagger that follows. There's also the crabs on the walls that are essentially just turrets, which also offer a sizable damage output that I didn't actually know where the damage was coming from at first. Come to think of it, there were similar crabs in the base game, but I don't remember them being quite so effective. Moving on from there, I want to talk about my impressions so far of Master Rank in general. Now, obviously this is a teeny tiny sample size with only 3 monsters being hunted, so there will likely be a pretty significant margin of error, so take all of this with a grain of salt. From what I can tell, so far the devs have made the decision to ramp up the monster's speed pretty significantly in Master Rank, which may just be the perfect answer to the biggest problem Rise had. The wire bugs, as cool as they are, offer a level of mobility and speed that makes a lot of the monsters in the game complete pushovers, and has them stuck in the constant state of catching up to the hunter when it should be the other way around. By ramping up the monster speed in Master Rank, Capcom offers a solution that goes further than just giving the monsters more health and damage. For me, this was most noticeable on Tetranodon actually, as there isn't really a frame of reference for Astalos, given it wasn't in base Rise. Tetranodon definitely caught me off guard by how quickly it was moving, and even just knocked me out cold a few times. Maybe I'm crazy and I just went in half-clocked because I know that Tetranodon isn't much of a threat, and so I underestimated it and just got wrecked, but I reckon the speed increase is going to be a game changer. Coupled with the addition of the new Master Rank attacks that monsters have, Tetranodons being particularly goofy but powerful, and Sunbreak is really shaping up to give us a challenge worthy of the Monster Hunter name. I also heard that Malzeno just kind of straight up teleports, an attack that I've not yet witnessed, but eagerly await. Now for some focus on the weapons. I think I've had a crack at about half the weapons at this point, and by and large I think they all feel pretty great and are mainly just enhanced from the base game. Longsword does feel awful without quick sheath. Once you're used to quick sheath though, that's just how it goes. It seems like not all of the new abilities are available from what I can tell, but there's a good amount to play around with, and I personally have been particularly enjoying the greatsword in the demo, which certainly surprised me. I don't actually know which abilities are new and which are old because I barely touched the greatsword in Rise. You'll recall me saying I disliked it in my Monster Hunter experience video, despite it being my main weapon for many years prior, and well, from what I've tried, I was definitely wrong as hell, because that shit is fun. I'm still kinda rusty at the timings, and I'm sure things like fast charge will really help it out on final release, but something just finally clicked, and I like it a lot. Now to go back and make some greatsword sets in base Rise before Sunbreak comes out. Oh geez, I'm running out of time. Alright, now for the elephant in the room. The switch skill swap. Something I am going to get tongue-tied saying over and over again. Arguably one of the biggest changes to the gameplay that the expansion is bringing with it, the switch skill swap is to Sunbreak what the Clutch Claw was to Iceborne. But how does it shape up in practice? Well, it basically takes an option from a menu that you could only access outside of battle and makes it available anytime, anywhere you want. Whether you're walking through base, gathering materials, or face-to-face with a monster, you can now change your entire moveset at the drop of a hat, and it's fine, I would say. It's probably just something that I need to get used to, but I find myself just not really using it a whole lot. It clearly paves the way for a variety of combos that I imagine will be the highlight of many a Team Darkside video, but I more often than not just pick one of the 2 loadouts and just use that for the whole hunt, largely forgetting about the swap. I would use it for the cool little dodge every now and then, and I think it's certainly a very cool feature, but it does require some getting used to. The applications I think will be most enjoyable will be the multi-monster hunts where you can swap to a preferred moveset on a dime depending on what you're facing, especially when there's multiple monsters in one area together. And being able to make my own movesets will probably incentivize me to use it more. And now, if you will allow me a few moments of nitpicking, I will be on my way. Overall, the Sunbreak demo is a very positive experience, but there are a few little things that really bugged me. The first was the wind pressure. Now, I don't know if Astalos is just a particularly gusty boy, but I found myself being wind suppressed far more than I remember being in the base game, and there's almost no visual indicator for the wind these days, which adds to the annoyance. I've never been a big fan of wind from the very beginning of Monster Hunter, a sentiment I'm sure plenty of folks agree with. If you want to make it a special thing for like Kushala and the Elder Dragons, that's fine, but it's just annoying, dude. The next thing was the fidelity of the map itself, talking specifically about the jungle. Now, this could just be my settings or something, sure, but there is a level of blurriness and graininess to the things in the distance and background that I didn't notice in the other maps, or at least didn't notice as much in base Rise. Now, this could just be that the jungle has brighter lighting, which makes it more obvious, and this game does need to run on a Nintendo Switch, so like, I get it. It was just much more glaring than I had previously noticed. So that briefly sums up my experience with the demo so far. I realize I'm a little late to the party with this video, real life gets busy, you know, but I still wanted to share my thoughts and see how you're all enjoying what we've had a chance to get our hands on. Or if you're waiting for the full release, which part are you looking forward to most? I'm excited for Sunbreak, and what I've tried up until now is a welcome improvement over the base Rise. Sunbreak is almost upon us, and I for one am counting down the hours until release. That will just about do it for today's video. Stay safe out there, folks. I'll catch you on the next one. See you later.